Okay, we're about to begin inspecting hive number 1. I've already smoked the front. Hopefully, we're going to attempt this. I noticed the phone is in the sun. That might not be good. We'll see. Okay, hive configuration. We've got 2 deeps, Tim frame, with bucket feeder, Sorry, let me see what I can do with this angle. Oh, wow. I gave them a gallon of 1-to-1. There's currently still some food left in there. So I'm going to take it away from the hive. And this is good. This could be either good or, I don't know, interesting. Okay. Making sure my smoker is nice and going. Beginner beekeepers, one of their first struggles is keeping my smoker lit. All right, so I'm checking the top. For the queen, she can be on the top cover. So instead of having bees in places I don't want them, I'm just going to knock it down once. That doesn't hurt them. They have exoskeletons. And if we look here, just a glance, we're in the second deep. I see seams of bees. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe a little bit of 5. And the rest of these are really kind of untouched. That doesn't really mean anything at the moment. That could be food. So, but what that does mean is I'm not going to pull my frame out of the center unless I feel really comfortable that I'm not going to damage the queen. Now, this is this is a new queen. I believe hive number 1 was one of my one of my swarms this summer. It was a late summer swarm. So this, what does that mean? That means that this queen is not marked. So we have a pretty much non-touched frame here. So I like marking my queens because it helps me keep track of what their age and if they've swarmed. So what's interesting about this is I believe, well, I know that this hive has swarmed because I had a swarm that I caught, and this is food bee bread. I had a swarm that I caught. The queen was not marked. So what does that mean? That means that there's no guarantees, but what does that mean? That means that, to me, that tells me that that wasn't the first swarm from this hive. because the original queen that was in there was marked. So that was a secondary swarm. See what I'm saying? But if it were a primary swarm, there's nectar on here. Quite a bit of nectar. Bee bread. So what does that mean if I've caught a swarm that had a mark? Number one, could have been one of mine, or could have been somebody else's that marks their queen. So now we're getting into one of those seams of bees. And what does that mean? That means those bees are keeping their brood warm and feeding them and tending to them. So whenever you start seeing brood and or eggs, you kind of want to slow down and make sure that you're really not bumping things like on the side of the frames. And if I can get you in there, and it looks like, looking at the larva or larvae, they're swimming in a bed of royal jelly. I don't see the queen on this side. And I don't particularly see the queen on this side either. However, oh, warning, I randomly break out in song. Out of tune songs. Get it, girl! This girl here has a hive beetle that she is getting. That's awesome. Wish you could have seen it. Okay. So there are some larvae in here. Now, we talk about raising bees of, or I don't talk about it, but I've learned that around this time, they're raising bees of winter physiology. And what does that mean? They have more fat bodies. What in the world? Okay. They have more fat bodies, and I don't know if you can see this or if this is true. Some of those bees look small, but some of them look bigger, which is completely interesting to me. So I have not seen any drones. Usually drones are bigger. Still don't see the queen, but I see evidence that she's here. So we have larvae. Come on, girls. And perhaps one of these days when I get better at videography, I'll let you see close up in the hive. So we see, or I see, bee bread, some practice cups, or it was possibly an old queen cup, because remember, this one swarmed, and whenever bees swarm, they take the original queen, the OG queen, with them. All right, so there's no brood, just food. And if I see just food on this one, I'm going to stop. And that's exactly what I see. Okay. The problem with swarming this time of year, in order for you to have a new queen successfully mate, you must have drones. And I don't currently see any drones in this hive. So hopefully, and drones from, well, so we're going to say hive number 1. So drones from hive number 1 do not mate with the virgin queen from hive number 1. Just a fun bee fact. All right, so now what I'm going to do, just so I'm not encouraging robbing, because we're getting a little more activity here, I'm going to put this on the top cover, and it's really heavy. Put this on the top cover and cover it up. Please pardon my grunting. I'm old. You see what I'm seeing? Okay. All right, so I don't see many more seams of bees, but that really doesn't mean a whole lot, but we'll see. Are they working the bottom deep? So this is pretty much untouched. But it's pretty. I see no food on there. Looking good. Let's give them a little smoke. So we can get in here. And so remember, I had not yet found the queen. It does not mean that she's not in here. I did see larvae. Didn't really notice any eggs. So she could have been up there. I did see her and this is absolutely bananas. The last time that I was in this hive, because she's a new queen, before I closed her up, because I try to be real careful, before I closed her up, I actually saw her on the sidewall. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. I did not mark her at that time. All right, so currently this hive has plenty of food on the top. And I really am not seeing them utilize the bottom. There's not much. There's not much here. And then the robbing begins. We've got honey here. Okay. There's not much down here. So, all right, so that's what we're here for. Getting them winter ready. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. There's not much down in the bottom. They're not really storing food down there. Not really. Not really. Oh. So I'm going to reverse them and hope that they move down to the bottom. Once I do that, I will come back maybe I'll continue to feed, come back maybe in a week and see if pretty much they like left the top finished. I will clear out the top deep and take these frames and put them in the freezer. And I will have them for, I guess, somebody else in need. Who knows? So before Robin gets done, we're pretty much done with this inspection. I'm just going to reverse this. Make sure she's not on the bottom. Oh, hive beetles. We're still having hive beetles. My. Okay, so I know what I have to add to my to-do list. Put some more hive beetle traps in here. Which I will do. Okay. Ooh. All right. So, final hive configuration for hive number 1 with unmarked queen will be a single deep. Eventually, after I clean it up, will be a single deep. And see all the flying. All right, we're closing them up. And all I have to do is put my feeder bucket back on and close the top. That concludes hive number 1. Thank you. Like and subscribe.